Hey, what's up? So this video is about pride. In the sense of, so what is pride? I mean, like I'm proud of who I am. I'm proud of my nice Stetson hat. I'm proud of the fact that I have taken certain steps in my life to become a yoga teacher and I take care of my body. I'm proud of how I take care of myself. That's not what we're talking about. There's this other thing, pride, where so the only way that I can explain it is through a scenario that took place recently, because that's what I do on this channel. And so it's basically that I was working in this house with this guy, and he was very nitpicky. He had some things that he needed fixed, and he had post-it notes all over the place, and he would watch you like a hawk while you're working, and he would say, be like, no, not that, da, 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 and so like working under this sort of condition, right? And so, but I'm I don't know, mature enough to be able to handle myself in a certain way around people that are like this. Whereas like I practice something called humility, where it's just like, okay, I can see that this person is struggling. And so instead of taking it personally, which is where this whole pride thing, we'll get to that, right? And instead of taking it personally or getting frustrated with the person and saying, hey man, why don't you back off or whatever, right? I mean, instead of any of that nonsense, just appease them. You say, yes sir, okay, I'm sorry about that, okay, how would you like this? And you pay attention to what they're doing. You see, it's like, okay, make sure I'll put all my tools on top of something because he's worried about his floor getting scratched and this and this and this, right? It's like, clearly this person is dealing with some challenges, right? So the best thing that you can do is help them, to be of service, to be as nice and caring and friendly and kind as you possibly can in this situation. And so like other people that I know who have met this person, we were at this guy's house because there were some other people in his house who actually did the work, and he's like, I don't ever want those people back because they weren't able to handle the situation properly. And then another, my boss, that he was working in the house too, he said, oh, this guy, he's super anal and he's got ADHD and he's impossible and da 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 da. And I was like, okay, but when I dealt with him, I treated him with respect. Like I said, instead of making it about myself, I I recognized that he was struggling. And so I made an effort to compensate for that by being super nice and super respectful. And he really appreciated it. Of course, people who are struggling respond well to people who are nice to them. And so, and then at the end of the job, he gave me a tip. He gave me a $20 bill. It was like, here, thank you. Thank you for doing such a great job. I really appreciated it. I was like, thanks, man. Really appreciate it. And then so that kind of we're out of there, and then went to another job, and we're talking. I don't know, it came up in conversation as it does in working in people's houses, having conversations with the homeowners about stuff. And somebody said, my boss, he's like, oh yeah, well, this guy, he was super anal, super ADHD or ADD, like he had post-it notes everywhere. You couldn't do anything right. And he's like, oh well, but Josh, he did it. He handled the situation because he's kind of like that too. I was like, no, I'm not. I was like, what are you talking about, man? And then, like I'm minding my own business off in a corner doing something. I got up, was like, come on, dude, that's not at all what it is. It's just that, I'm a compassionate person, and I know how to recognize when somebody is struggling, and I don't make things worse by taking it personally. And then, and it was like, and also I don't have this thing that a lot of people do, men and women, and it is called pride. And so where this pride gets in the way is it's just like, it's this energy. It's like, um, how to explain this? So, the reason that I don't have this is because I've spent time in my life homeless, and so like when you're homeless, you can't really have a whole lot of pride. You know, because if you had this, well, this isn't good enough, and then if you had this kind of like this attitude of pride, which I'm doing my best to explain, then you wouldn't be able to live that life. You would have to do something else. You couldn't say live in your car because that would be unacceptable to you, right? And so for myself, living in a car was a very humbling experience. I've also lived on the street as well, but I mean, I'm sort of referring to my time living in a car, where, yeah, I mean, like you have to get over living in a car. You have to get over the idea of what other people think of you, because people do look at you, they judge you, they look down their noses at you, they see you as a transient person, a bum, a person who essentially can't get their shit together, somebody who is just, like an outcast, a person who is, and the thing is, it hurts, but through the process, I became not ashamed of where I was at in my life and what I was doing. I wasn't ever planning to live like that forever. It was a means to an end. It was a phase that I was going through, but I decided to not be ashamed of who I am and what I'm doing and how I'm getting from A to B. That's how my cookie crumbled. And yeah, and so and even because like people, I think people recognize that it could be a touchy subject, sort of a taboo, sort of a subject, and people, because like I brought it up before, and people would be like, well, why? Because people don't understand it. They say, well, why were you, are you offended? Or people say like, well, how long, like, is it rude to ask this person how long you were living in the car and why and stuff like that? Because they don't want to hurt your feelings. Some people are very respectable about it, but it is generally recognized that it can be a bit of a touchy subject, because like just to be honest, like nobody's living like that because everything in life worked out for them. It's just like me living in this room right now. I'm not living in a room in a shared house because I got everything figured out, right? I'm here because I'm short on money, because of the way that I handled my finances in the past, because of just the way that everything has happened has landed me here. I accept that, but this is quite a compromise, living in a situation that isn't ideal, where you don't have your own space, where you're kind of confined and you're underneath somebody else's thumb and whatnot. So yeah, but living in a car, yeah, it really it got to the point, because I did it a few times, it got to the point where I was able to just completely surrender to it and just accept things for what they are and where I'm at and what I'm doing. And yeah, to not at all be ashamed of myself. And that's a big thing, because like this is all of these ideas, all of that stuff, like it's like the what, I don't know if it's recognition, but how you see yourself in relation to others, it's because it's to do with image. If you care what other people think about you, right? Or like, or yeah, you're worried about how other people are judging you, or and whatnot. You know, this is all in the mind, and it's all ego, right? And so to go through a process which helps to pacify the ego, that part of the mind which is associated with identity and thinking and stuff like that. And so, and this was the thing, was in this situation, is just like, because I've gone through a process where I've been able to calm down the part of myself um, which needs to be seen, or which has this need to, which cares about image and what somebody else thinks, somebody else thinks. And so like when I was in this person's house, to be able to say, yes, sir, absolutely, sir, no problem. Yeah, I can do that. Because being able to recognize that there is no harm, no foul. When a person, of course, like that person wasn't doing anything other than doing their absolute best, right? And so being able to meet them at their own level, that's like a heart-based kind of a thing, as opposed to being up here and just assuming that this person is a jerk, this person's an asshole, this person is, I don't know, maybe an alpha male, or this person is, assuming things and like judging and like, yeah, getting your own, getting the hair, the fur on your back standing up, getting butt hurt is a phrase about something that could be handled in a different way. Like, I'm not saying that sometimes you don't have to say something, or you have to handle every situation as needed, right? But also, yeah, it just really helps to not have this pride thing. Yeah, I mean, and it's funny because like even in making this video, I'm still finding it challenging to put my finger on exactly what is meant by pride. But all I can say is it's to do with the image that we have of other people, no, are of ourselves. And what, yeah, it's weird because there's two sides of it. One of them is a healthy side and the other side is unhealthy. And I guess that's the thing, is that it's just important to recognize and avoid the unhealthy level of sort of attachment to image. Yeah. Because it can really get in the way of having compassion for another person. Yeah, pride, because you're taking things personally instead of reading in between the lines and seeing beyond, looking into, through, and beyond. Yeah, and that's because that is where resolution is going to come from. I mean, it's not it. Yeah, when you're dealing with a challenging situation, the superficial, the surface level is not where it's at. That's just the manifestation. You have to look past the manifestation into the underlying cause. I mean, always, no matter what it is that you're dealing with. So, yeah. But the first step to doing that, and I think this is it, is that you have to get over yourself. Because if you can't even get over yourself, there's no way you're going to be able to get over somebody else and look beyond things. And then, because that is when you can do that, that's when you can really be of service to somebody. And you can also, and then even just in as a person who has the ability to do that, you serve as an example of that. And whether people register that cognitively or not, like consciously, subconsciously, everything gets registered, right? And so that type of behavior of a person who is composed, who is mature, who is refined, who is sophisticated enough to handle a situation in a way that is the most appropriate and is able to actually be of service to another person, rather than just taking it the wrong way and making it about themselves and getting butthurt about it all. Yeah, it's a good thing. So, yeah, I think that's it. Pride. I'm sure there's more to it, but whatever. Hey, what's up? So this one is called Pride Part 2. Because pride is a funny thing to try to put your finger on to define exactly what it is. And I think I understand why. So basically, I had another experience which helped brought some clarity to this issue. And so what it was that I was working in a house. I do construction, and I was working in somebody's house. And so we were in this person's kitchen and noticed a bunch of pictures on the fridge and wall and stuff like that of somebody that I knew, somebody that I went to high school with. And so next time I saw the homeowner, I was like, hey, I saw this person. And I was like, hey, yeah, like I know that person. He's like, oh yeah, it was his daughter and whatnot. So it's like, oh, it's kind of cool to know somebody. I mean, it certainly makes customers feel a little more comfortable having people in their house when they do open up like that and say, hey, yeah, I went to high school with your daughter and whatnot. So it was nice. And he was like, oh yeah, so what's your name, your full name? Because he's like, I'll tell you that you were here, right? And so I told him my full name so that she would know exactly who he was talking about. And then this thing came up in me, and it was my pride, because there was a part of me that didn't want this person to know that I was working the job that I am, which is installing hardwood and laminate flooring in people's houses, because I have this idea of myself that I would have liked to amount to more than that. Not that there's anything wrong with it per se, but for me, there is something in me that says that, looks at where I'm at and what I'm doing, because I am essentially, as far as I'm concerned, a janitor. Because basically what I do, and there's nothing wrong with being a janitor, but it's just not where I would like to be in life and be doing with my time, is cleaning up other people's messes. And because essentially a lot of the jobs are to do with water damage, and then so it's an insurance job. Then you go in and you clean up the mess, you rip out the old stuff, you put new stuff in, you do dirty work. I work for a company, and there's a system to it. There's salespeople and there's all this kind of stuff, and one of the elements of that is an installer, and it is a person who takes the material and installs it in the new houses and whatnot. So that is part of what I do. That is what I do for a living right now, right? But it's not, it's nothing too glamorous, you know what I mean? It's not anything, I'm not really proud of it. I mean, I can say that I do it and I'm pretty good at it, but it's not where I would like to be. And so like when he was saying, oh yeah, I'll let this person know that you're here doing this, there was a part of me that it was like, I would rather this person knew that I was a yoga teacher, or that I was anything else, a musician or an artist or, anything but a construction worker who, and so I had to confront this, like realizing that because it's to do with the image, it's the image that you have of yourself and to do with the image that you, how you think other people see you, so then it kind of comes down to judgment, right? Because here I am sort of judging myself, saying it's like, well, I'm a lowly construction worker. I am this is where I've got to in life since high school, since I last saw this person. This is where I've gotten to. This is where I'm at, career-wise anyways, which says something about you as a person, because your career, what you do to earn a living, it is, it does indicate certain things about the path that you took in life and whatnot. And that's the thing, is like, as a doing what I'm doing, it's just like, that's not me, but it's like, why do I even care? And why am I ashamed of where I'm at and who I am and what I'm doing and where I'm going and what it has taken to get there, right? And so, yeah, it was just something that I definitely had to reflect on and kind of come to terms with in my own way and say, what difference does it make? Why? And the reason why all of this stuff is so elusive and it's kind of on the complex side is because it's all of these things is all related to what we would describe as the ego, right? Because it is this level of mind which is concerned with identity and so it was a humbling moment, especially having to kind of like, knowing that I had made this video about pride. And, sometimes you think you might have gotten over something, but then having to, it's not that I had to eat my own words, but I had to, and it's not that I'm a hypocrite, but it's like I did have to confront this idea that I am still operating along these lines and there's still work to do, right? And it's not a bad thing, but just interesting. It brings up this thing I've heard before. They say when you want to see how far you've come, spend some time with your family, because it's like we end up in these tied to people in a blood way, because they're the ones who can help us to grow the most, because somehow through the miracle of life they will be able to push our buttons in all of the ways that will get us to confront our own behaviors and perceptions of things and how we react to stuff. So yeah, kind of interesting, but that's it. End of video.